everyone, I'm Claire Ireland, LFA class of 2024.
And I'm Theresa Fu, LFA class of 2024.
And you're listening to Caxology, a podcast for students, alumni, faculty, families, and friends of Lake Forest Academy. Dear old LFA.
Caxology is brought to you by LFA's Richards and Tremaine Society, which recognizes members of the LFA community who have made thoughtful legacy gifts benefiting the school. For more information about the Richards and Tremaine Society or ways you can help support the mission of Lake Forest Academy, visit www.lfanet.org/give.
If you've been a Caxology listener, you know the podcast is hosted by Garry Sloan. Mr. Sloan came to LFA in 2016 as the Director of Individual Philanthropy. In July of this year, he took on a new role as LFA's Dean of Advancement. Mr. Sloan is also a parent of 2 LFA alumni.
Claire and I turn the tables on Mr. Sloan today, and we'll ask him the questions. He will take the Caxi query and answer the question, what exactly is LFA advancement?
Thanks for listening to Caxology. Let's get started.
Okay, so you're going to start with the Caxi query. You're going to start with those questions. All right, I'm ready.
First question, what is your favorite LFA dining hall dish?
I'm tempted to say chicken tenders because that's what we had today. They are really good. But, you know, the dining hall actually has some really good soup options. Like, I always start by checking out the soups. But, I think our dining hall service does a really good job. So there are lots of great options.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And what's something you own or prize that you can never get rid of?
I don't know that I have one specific thing that I could never get rid of, but I am very tied to my college, the University of Missouri, and I love all things Mizzou, so I have a really hard time getting rid of anything that has a Mizzou logo on it. So.
And what animal, could be an insect, are you most afraid of?
Snakes. 100%. It's snakes. It's interesting. I used to, like when I was a kid, I would have said it was both snakes and spiders. But then I actually was bit by a black widow. And it was not as bad as I would have thought. Now, I'm not trying to minimize the danger of black widows, but it's like once I got bit by that and I was like, oh, okay. Survived that, so I'm a little less afraid of spiders now, but snakes, I just cannot stand snakes.
And do you have a favorite LFA or Fairy Hall color, like orange, black, yellow, or white?
I wouldn't say that I have a favorite. I think that what's interesting to me is all of the colors seem to work pretty well together, but orange and black, great, they complement each other so well. Yellow and white, they complement each other very well. Yellow, depending on the shade, yellow is not really my color, so I don't wear a lot of yellow, which, going back to my previous answer, Mizzou's colors are black and gold. That's like the only yellow I will wear is Mizzou gold.
And if you could watch one movie only for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Oh, that's another really tough question. And since we're having this conversation right before the holidays, the movie Elf comes to mind. That movie came out, I think, the year my son was born, and it's just required watching in our house every holiday season.
Coffee, yes or no?
100%. Yeah, I am a coffee person. I'm typically like a 1 cup a day person. I say that. I will have more than 1 cup often, but I get up in the morning, I have my coffee, and then you guys can look just to your right over there is my office coffee machine. So I don't make a pot every day, but you know, on the days when I'm feeling like I'm dragging a little bit, I'll make an afternoon pot of coffee and share it with the office.
If we run into you off campus doing your favorite activity, where would we find you?
If the weather is nice, you'll find me on the golf course. I love to play golf. One of my favorite things about my work here at LFA is over the last couple of years, I've also taken on a role as the girls' assistant golf coach, which I really, really enjoy. Because I'm not a classroom person, I don't get a lot of interaction with the students, and that allows me to interact more with the students. If the weather is not nice, I would say you'll catch me doing some kind of physical activity. I'm an exercise guy, but I do it mostly at home. I have a rower at home and a treadmill, and so a good workout is where you'll find me.
And what is your preferred activity for mental wellness? Like walking, reading, meditating, etc.?
Yeah, it goes right back to the last answer. It's definitely a workout. I have tried like putting my workout at different times during the day. When I took on this role as Dean of Advancement, it means a lot more time spent in the office and doing office things. So I tried to work out in the mornings. I am not a morning workout guy. That is not the right time for me. I like it at the end of the day because it just sort of gets rid of all the stress and everything else that I've built up during the day. So, but that's definitely my favorite activity for mental wellness.
Slight switch, but what is your most used app on your phone?
It has to be the email app. Probably coming in a close second would be the texting app. With one child in college and the other child working in Michigan, that's primarily how I keep up with my kids, is through text, texting a lot with my wife as well. But more and more I find I'm using text for work too. I text with alumni and parents and even coworkers.
And if you had to describe your LFA experience in 5 words, what would those 5 words be?
Unexpected, exciting, rewarding, challenging, and uplifting. Yeah. And
Good choices.
I could dig into any one of those words for probably an hour each. but those are the 5 I would say.
Yes.
Yeah.
So where is home for you, / where did you grow up?
I was born and raised in a small town in Missouri about an hour south of St. Louis. It's called Bonne Terre, which for those of you who study French, that means good earth. When I grew up there, it was a town of about 2,500, so very small. It's grown a little bit. I think now it's like maybe 6,000. My parents and one of my siblings still live in that part of Missouri, as well as some other relatives. But yeah, I would definitely say that's home. But after, grew up, went to high school, graduated, went to college at Missouri, taught for a couple of years in Kansas City, found my way to Oklahoma for graduate school. That's where I met my wife, started our family. Then from there, we went to Virginia, and from Virginia to Illinois. So I've kind of been all over the place.
Nice. And I think you've touched on this a bit, but
yeah.
What are your college loyalties?
Yeah, definitely it's Missouri. The really nice thing for me is that my son is also in school at Missouri. So he chose Missouri because he is studying journalism, and Missouri has a really top-notch journalism program, which means I get to go back to Missouri. I'm a huge college football fan, and so I try to go back to at least 3 or 4 games a year. I was just down there 2 weeks ago when Missouri played Tennessee. That was a big game, so really enjoy doing that. Yeah.
How did you find your way to LFA after that, and how long have you been here?
So how I found LFA is, to me, I think it's a really interesting story. I hope others will agree. I mentioned that we were living in Virginia before we came here, and I was working for a place called the Colonial Williamsburg Foundation. If you don't know that organization, Williamsburg, Virginia, was the capital of Virginia during America's colonial period, right before we declared our independence. The capital was moved from Williamsburg to Richmond. So about 100 years ago, some people decided to rebuild what they could of Williamsburg as it looked in colonial times, and they created the Colonial Williamsburg Foundation. And so now Colonial Williamsburg is the world's largest outdoor living history museum. And so I worked for them for a time, and while I was there, one of my colleagues was a man named Al Lauer, and Al is a 1963 graduate of LFA. And so LFA was looking to create a new position in fundraising called the Director of Individual Philanthropy. They reached out to Al because he worked in advancement and said, would you help us sort of figure out what this job should look like? And he did that. And then they said, do you know anybody who you think might be interested? And he said, well, yeah, I know this guy, and his kids are just about to reach high school age. And he gave them my name. And that's how I ended up knowing about LFA and applying for the job. And I've been here since January of 2016. So I'm in my 8th year at LFA.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thanks.
And so you are now the Dean of Advancement. So what does advancement mean, and what does your team do on a typical day?
So advancement covers a lot of things. We are primarily the group that handles alumni relations, parent relations, events, and most importantly, fundraising for the school. I think that many students may not realize that LFA is actually a nonprofit. And we raise a significant amount of money to support the operations of the school every year. Last year, we raised around $7 million. We raise that in a number of different ways. We have the Academy Fund, which supports ongoing operations of the school, so everything that happens year to year. We have an endowment. The endowment is money that is invested, and then we use the earnings from that money to fill the gap of what we don't bring in revenue every year. We have the gala every year, which is the only major fundraising event that we have. We choose a project every year to focus the gala on. Last year it was the new athletic center we're building. The year before that it was the community health center. It's been faculty housing and a number of other things. Then we also have other special projects that will occur from time to time. And if you're familiar with organizations that do fundraising, there are often also major campaigns that wrap a lot of things together. The last major campaign here at LFA ended around 2014 and completely transformed the campus. A lot of the buildings that you see here today came into being as part of that effort. And there's a saying in philanthropy, you're either in a campaign or you're planning for a campaign. We are in the planning for a campaign stage right now at LFA, but that also means still doing a number of active things. We're still raising money for the new athletic center. But yeah, that's basically what advancement does. And some organizations use the word development, others use advancement, but it basically just means everything that helps move the school forward.
Nice.
So.
Got it. And then have you always worked in advancement?
No, I've been working in advancement now for about 15 years, maybe a little bit longer. Before working in advancement, I was actually a musician. All of my education was in music. I taught choral music for many years, and I was also an opera singer, and still try to do some singing whenever I can, although I don't do much of it anymore. Just the opportunities don't come around like they used to because I focus on other things. But yeah, no, advancement definitely is a second career for me, I guess I would say.
So then, outside of advancement at LFA, what do you typically do? You do anything else for LFA?
Yeah, well, I mentioned that I assistant coach the girls' golf team, which is something I've been doing for the last couple of years. When we had a football team here years ago, I was the announcer for the football team. I've done some announcing for some other sports as well. I've done a few basketball games. I did the soccer senior recognition a couple years ago. And one of the things that I really enjoyed doing the year that I came here, I'll try to keep this story short. When I came here in 2016, there was someone who had just retired. And I don't recall that person's name, but they had given the invocation at graduation for many years. The year that I came, friends of mine were getting married and they asked me to officiate their wedding. And so John Strudwick was the head of school at the time, and he came to me and he said, "Hey, I hear that you're officiating somebody's wedding, and we need somebody to do the invocation at graduation. Seems like you're kind of primed for that. Would you be willing to do the invocation?" And I said, "Sure." So I did the invocation, and I kind of thought, I didn't know. I thought maybe it rotated, like they asked a different person every year. And so the next year came around, and I think I asked somebody, well, who's going to do the invocations this year? And somebody said, "Oh, that's your job now." And so I've done it every year since. And that's become really special to me because I get that role every year in the graduation ceremony. And I'll have a double role this year because I'm also the one of the senior class co-advisors with Ms. Ramirez. So she and I will announce all the seniors' names as they receive their diplomas this year.
Exciting.
Yeah.
And then what is your favorite LFA activity or tradition?
We have some great ones. I would have to say it is Move Up Day, which I don't know if you all know the history of Move Up Day. It's actually a tradition that we pulled over from Ferry Hall, the girls' school that merged with LFA back in 1974. It is such a unique ceremony and a great precursor to graduation that, graduation is really about the seniors, as it should be. But to have that ceremony the day before that involves all of the students at the school and also welcomes the new, at least representatives of the new freshman class that are coming to LFA the following year, I think that's a really special and unique tradition of the school.
And what gives you the greatest amount of excitement for LFA's future?
Well, at the risk of sounding cheesy, it's you guys. I mean, really, it's the students. I mean, I am just constantly amazed at some of the things that our students do here at LFA and what they go on to do, the colleges that they end up going to and the different career paths that they choose. Every year when we see the matriculation list where the senior class goes to college, it's like 70 colleges. It's unbelievable that a class of 115, 120-ish students spread out to that many places. I think it's a great testament to our college counseling office that they really focus on finding the place that fits each student and where they're going to thrive and where they're going to pursue a program that really fits their interest and what they hope to do in the future. But yeah, it's I have great excitement for LFA's future based on the students that are here and I've seen in my 8 years here, I think I've seen a growth in the spirit for LFA, the connection that students are visibly showing, the appreciation they have. I think the pandemic actually had something to do with that. I think that LFA, compared to a lot of other schools, navigated the pandemic really, really well, and the students saw that, and they saw how much the school really cares about them and their well-being and their wellness and their success, and that goes a long way to keeping them connected to us. One of the big challenges of an independent school like LFA is as soon as you leave us, you're off to college, and boy, college really wants to make sure you have a good experience so that you're going to donate to them. And now there's space between you and us, and in between that space is your college. That's a challenge for us to really stay connected with alumni after they leave us and go and have immediately another alumni experience someplace else. But I'm really excited that I think the students that are coming through here now understand what LFA gives to them and the value of their LFA education.
And then finally, what is something that you think people don't realize about LFA that you really wish they knew?
I think I probably already said it, and that is we are a school that is very reliant on support beyond tuition and those types of things. Our tuition covers about 75% of what it costs to run the school in a year. And yeah, tuition is not a small number. But we also want to make sure that LFA is a place that can be attainable to anybody that wants to benefit from an LFA education. And that's why we offer financial aid to students at different levels to make sure that it's attainable to people who are middle income and lower income. If you have the interest and the ability to make the grade and be accepted to LFA, we want to make sure it's a place that's attainable for you. And that takes support from our alumni and our parents. And I just think that it's easy to look at a school like LFA and say, wow, look at this beautiful campus. Look at the wonderful amenities that they have for their students. And they think, well, you guys just must have plenty of resources. And the truth is, it is a year after year after year endeavor to make sure we keep the resources coming into LFA that support that level of education. And, we talk a lot about LFA's differentiators. Why would you choose to come to a school like LFA when we have very good public schools in this area? But we're a smaller, more intimate environment that opens up more opportunities. We are far and away a much more diverse community. You're going to go to school with people from different backgrounds, different cultures, different parts of the country, different parts of the world. And I think that mimics the real world you're going to be going into once you're done with college. That's a benefit that I don't think we can really put a price on. So that is something that I think is good for people to take a moment and realize about LFA is, yes, it is an amazing place. We're very fortunate to have what we have, but to maintain it and to keep it going and to support the student body that we have and the great faculty that we have here, it takes more than just those traditional revenue sources.
I think that's the bulk of our questions.
Okay, great. Well, thank you guys. This was weird to be on the other side of the microphone, but also kind of fun.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.